Welcome to Real Talk, Real Advice, Real Difference. I'm your host, Nathan Najib, and in this podcast, we bring you conversations from the leading experts with experience, stories, and advice to help you become a better agent and impact this industry and the community for the better. Today, it is my greatest pleasure to bring to you the most influential person in the Australian real estate industry. He is the founder of one of the most prestigious real estate agencies on earth. John started McGrath Estate Agents in 1988 from a small office in Paddington, Sydney. Today, McGrath has almost 100 offices all around Australia. What's most impressive and inspiring to me is that the people within the organization are some of the most beautiful, genuine, and successful people on earth. What's most inspiring to me about this man is that he, like most of us, started from a very humble beginning. John is one of the most humble, the most engaged, the most giving person I know. Please help me welcome one of my own heroes, John McGrath. We want to talk about a couple of things as we discussed. We'd like to have a chat with number one is what we will see, what the real estate market will do in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and then 6 to 10 weeks, and then from 10 to 12 weeks, and then onwards from there. And the second...
Yeah, let's do that one first before the second. No, I've just got a crystal ball, but here's my gut feeling, having been through 9/11 and GFC and the tech wreck and a whole range of market corrections, probably more than many in the industry. I think right now there's understandably a lot of fear and uncertainty. In fact, it's probably almost at its peak state. A few weeks ago, everyone was wondering, is the virus going to become worse? Will it ever reach Australia and New Zealand? How bad will it get, etc.? We kind of know a bit of that now, but there's still a bit of uncertainty about when the case is going to decline. And I think in your country and ours, there is some evidence that suggests we are getting on the top part of the world. And of course, there are other parts of the world that have got far more problems they're dealing with than us. So I think there's going to be a few catalysts, Nate. I think once we start seeing a 7-day decline of new cases, that will be the first catalyst, because real estate's all about the people, right? The property's just sitting there, it always has and always will. So this is about how do the people that are buying and selling feeling about it. When we start seeing a decline in new cases, that's going to be one catalyst. When there's an announcement about a treatment, not a vaccine, because that'll be a longer, but a treatment where if you've got it, by the way, it's, from a statistical point of view and in ranks in diseases, it's not the world's most deadly of diseases, but that's not to say there haven't been people that have tragically died. But I think when we start seeing a reduction in new cases and then we see a treatment, there will be almost, I'll say, back to business as usual, back to a more normalised life. Excuse me. So
how long till we see the decline? You think 4 to 6 weeks? That would be sufficient time?
Well, statistically, I've seen 2 individual studies that have been done about Australia, and let's assume in New Zealand and Australia, because I think we both hit it at a similar point in time. Those 2 studies, one said that new cases will start to decline in Australia between the 4th and the 11th of April, which is any day. The other one specifically said the 9th of April. So they both agreed that it was probably somewhere at latest by mid-April. Now, let's assume that's the case. And it does feel, look, already we've seen some declines. I haven't checked your stats, but I don't want to get too excited about that because you can go from 500 down to 300 and 290 and then go back to 400. But at the moment, the last 3 days in Australia, we've seen a decline in daily cases from 500 down to 300. So that's kind of a positive, and I'll assume that New Zealand is probably similar.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some good news, and we've seen Wuhan, that was the epicenter of this tragic scenario we find ourselves in. So therefore, had virtually millions and millions of people were in it, and many of them had contracted it. 3 months later, they're now pretty much back to usual. They're back to work. I saw the other day, I try and avoid watching the news, by the way, which would be one of the things I'm encouraging your people, but I did happen to see something because I was looking. The only thing I Google about coronavirus is good news about coronavirus.
Right.
Because there's plenty of bad news. Even one death made is tragic, but thousands and thousands is horrible.
Sure.
But right now, we have seen Wuhan and most of China start to return to normal. This is about 3 months after they kind of hit the position that we're in now. So, I don't want to give any false expectations, and I certainly don't want to suggest that I'm an expert, but my view is around the middle of this month, we'll start seeing a decline in cases. I think soon after there will be some positive news about treatments that are already in the marketplace being tested on humans. We know that a vaccine is likely to take 12 months, but I think once we get the treatment and the decline in cases, now that doesn't mean it's going to go back to pubs and clubs and hugging each other and so forth in 2 weeks at all. I think that we're probably going to operate. We still haven't got the same level of lockdowns that you guys have got, but I think that there's going to be some level of restrictions for probably the next 3 months. Sure. Now, where we're at now, which I think is where you'll go back to next, or we might go to your level, but where we're at now is the government is saying stay home. You can go out to get your provisions, your food and your essentials. If you need to go out for medical service or exercise on your own, you can do that. No more than one person can be together. So if you want to exercise, you can meet a friend as long as you stay 2 metres apart, but you can't meet two friends. And so I think that, and now that's quite in a sense, that's quite a livable scenario for most people. I mean, you think the countries that we live in, Nate, we're blessed. To 99.9% of the world would love to be in Christchurch or Auckland, Sydney or Brisbane right now. So we are very lucky, and we should be grateful for that. So I think that in our parts of the world, we're kind of in the middle of the worst of it now. I think we'll start seeing some good news in the next 14 to 30 days. And I think in 3 months' time, it won't be back to usual, but it'll be closer back to usual. Yeah. Now, by the way, right now, even with our restrictions, which we can talk about, I know you guys have got more onerous restrictions, which I applaud, by the way. I think it's very sensible. A lot of our guys, as you know, because you've been listening to some of our webinars on a daily basis, a lot of our guys, they're doing 3-4 sales a week. Yeah. So certainly in Australia, where the lockdown hasn't happened to the same degree, there are still people buying and selling. Less, but there are plenty of people buying and selling. One of my agents yesterday got an offer accepted at $7.5 million on a property. Brent Courtney sold 2 in the last 48 hours, one for 4.1, one for 4.6, just to name a couple. But there's been, we've had dozens of opportunities like that. So the message we're sending to our agents, and you can't quite reach there yet because of your restrictions are more demanding, but follow the safety and hygiene levels, social distancing. That's absolutely non-negotiable, critical. But other than that, act as though nothing's happened. Like we're doing today, digital. You can still have plenty of digital meetings with buyers and sellers. You can have digital sales meetings. You can have digital recruitment meetings. There's almost nothing once you step a little bit further back to where you were and where you're going to be. There's almost nothing you can't do. So we're doing, online videos. Most of our agents are taking video walkthroughs of their properties. They're also getting virtual tours or videos done professionally. They're doing information videos out to their clients, both buyers and sellers, letting people know, if you're thinking of selling, here's what we see. It's conversations similar to ours today. So it's all about, if you can communicate to people, you want to make them calm and you want to make them confident. The only way to do that is through by being calm and confident yourself. So you walk in and you're shaky and you're stressed and look chaotic and feel chaotic. That energy can't be hidden. You walk in, right now, I look at it and I'm not trying to underplay it or downplay it, but if this is the worst it gets, I've got to tell you, it ain't that bad if this is the worst it gets. Now, I know some people had to shut cafes and restaurants, and that's horrible, and I know your government and ours are doing a tremendous job, I think, to help them get through this period, and most will, and some may not. But I think for our real estate industry, we can work remotely. We can have conversations digitally. We can promote most of our properties to a point. We had one last week that bought and sold without sight unseen, hadn't seen it, just off the back of watching the video and seeing the floor plan. So there are so many tools out there right now. If you are calm, one of our guys, I think you might have been in the meeting last week, we mentioned it, Nate, they said, look, what you need right now, a couple of things. You need to be calm and confident, 100%. You need to have authentic conversations, not bullshit conversations, not pretending nothing's happened, not being a merchant of doom, not being, the total optimist. But reality is, yes, things have changed. You're right. The value of your property's probably also changed a bit. Might be down, call it 10%. In our market, I'd say 10% might be a regular marker, although some are selling at the same price as they were before. So what you need to do, Nate, is decide how you feel about the situation. I feel fine. I'm selling property and I have buyers that want to buy. So from my perspective, if you want to push the button today, I'm ready and ready to go and confident we'll get interest. If you don't feel confident and you want to sit on the sidelines, I totally respect that. What you may want to do is give me an offline, off-market listing right now. I won't put it on the portals. I won't put a board out front. But why don't you let me list it? Because I do have people in this price range. And I think if you could get your price, you'd be a happy seller today. And let's review it over the next fortnight and see how things go. So our top agents, that tends to be the strategy they're adopting. They go to market, what we call soft launch, off market. So it's not all guns blazing day one necessarily, although some are. Mainly it's let me get in contact with the 10 buyers I know are looking for a home in your price range like yours. Let me get some of them through by private appointments, which you can't currently. Off the back of that, I'll either sell the property, which you'll be delighted with, as will I, or we'll have some information that says our price is optimistic, that there's a lot of interest. One of our auctions we just mentioned there, Betty Ockerlander, who sells about 120 properties a year for us, she had an auction in 3 weeks' time. She's bringing it forward to this Saturday because she's got so much interest.
Wow.
So if you're in communication, and the other thing you need to have on top of being calm and confident, having authentic conversations, you need to have an intelligent strategy.
Sure.
So look at the property. Look at the vendor scenario. There'll be some vendors, by the way, that can't wait. For whatever reasons, they can't wait for any relief packages. They're at a point they have to sell. Well, let's get on with the market. Let's market it confidently. Let's get the buyers through it. Can't do open homes, can't do private appointments. If you can't do private appointments, can you do virtual appointments? Yeah. So you've got to be proactive on the front foot. Anyone that goes to sleep during this period, Nate, and goes into a cave is scared to do business, or they go to sleep, or they say, look, let's have a 6-week Easter break. Now, by the way, if you want to have an enforced holiday and you decide that you and your family are going to bunker down and just shut off your emails for a month, that's totally fine if that's your decision. But if you are deciding to continue to work. When you can and how you can, of course.
John, you said, just to summarize that point, what the market will do, 4 to 6 weeks, we will know, we will hopefully come out of this lockdown period here in New Zealand.
Should do.
From 6 to 10 weeks, people that need to sell, that have to sell, they will probably need to sell their homes, and we should be helping them, right? From 10 to 12 weeks, and from there onwards, I believe, and I'm sure you're on the same page, is the market is going to be very busy, probably busier than what it was, because that's what happens after every crisis, after every natural disaster, correct?
Look, each one's different, and you're right. The last few, and you had some additional ones there in Christchurch, of course, and other parts of New Zealand. The last few crises of this nature or of this style, we have seen a strong surge post. And it may not be day after, it might not be the first month, but soon after, we do see people returning to want to conduct business. So I think that it's highly likely this will continue. We know that this is going to hit some sectors of the economy deeper and harder, such as hospitality sector. But generally speaking, with the relief packages that are in place, and a lot of people are in a much better position now than they were pre-GFC. Pre-GFC, mortgages were generally higher level. People had borrowed more, debt was higher. Interest rates were even higher, even though they weren't too bad. They were higher. Now we've got interest rates. You can borrow money at close to zero, a couple of percent, 2 or 3%.
Right.
Most people had paid down some degree their debt. Most values in real estate have risen in that ensuing period. So even though there are going to be some industries, and sectors hit hard, I think that we will see a bounce back of sorts. So you need to be prepared to work, I think, to work through this whenever you can, however you can. And you need to be agent of choice. You need to be connecting with your customers, not to try and get a listing or chase the ambulance. I think you need to just check in they're okay. I mean, anyone that's bought or sold from you in the last decade, and anyone that's been thinking of buying or selling through you in the last 12 months needs to get a call from you to check in and say, I just want to see how you're going. It's not about necessarily prospecting for listing, it's building relationships. And guaranteed, if they are thinking of selling or buying, they will say to you, well, we've decided not to buy, not to sell. Doesn't matter. Like you're here as a human being helping another human being. That's really where the core of this comes from.
Yeah, like most of your agents we've been listening to for the last 19 days, which you've kindly allowed us to join your webinars, they've been talking about be a human being first before a real estate agent, which I think is a beautiful thing. Like, we're here to see what we can do, make sure people are okay, and if they need us, of course, we're here to help.
100% agree. Yeah, I mean, that's where the intent comes from. And I think, depending on your intent, if your intent is to be a billionaire and make a lot of money and be greedy and just buy a great home, and you're good at what you do, you'll probably do very well. If your intent is to help the world, help everyone else, give people a great experience, help people out of difficult situations, I think you're going to do a lot better.
Right.
That energy, and if you want to think of it as karma, or just think of it as energy, people pick up on that. So yeah, I think it's really critical in to take your focus off self. I'm here to serve my community. One of the great gifts as real estate agents we have is we get to build communities, serve communities, help families move in and out of our community. That's a pretty privileged position. And right now, the people that we help in and out of our community are under duress and pressure. So I'm going to ring them, not to get their listing, but to check that they're okay. Right. And they will tell you if they want to have a real estate conversation.
And you're a prime example of this. Like, life it's a long-term thing. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint that you want to get to the end. People do become successful quickly, and with when they step on people and whatever they do to become, if you will, successful in the people's eyes, but they may be not successful within themselves, and obviously that doesn't last. It's not a long-term term strategy, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. This is, in many ways, this is a long game. If you're going to be in it and highly successful, it's got to be a career, not a job. You're selling people properties they're going to own for 10 years. So if you think that you can just transact, put a sold sign up and walk away, that's not going to work. You need to stay in it, in their lives, their relationship, help them build genuine connection with them over the long term. And if you do it that way, the other thing is, in negotiation and in business in many areas, the most successful people are generally the most relaxed in the room, the calmest in the room, and those without the same fear. So I said before, got to be calm and confident. So again, if you care but not that much in terms of don't get too attached to any one transaction or any one situation, you're going to be a lot more relaxed. Now, I used to carry 15 to 20 auction sales, but generally auctions at any one time. Now, that didn't mean any was more or less important than the others, but it meant if I lost one for whatever reason, a new listing or even a current listing, a bit withdrawn or even taken to someone else, if I couldn't do anything about it, well, I wasn't so stressed because I had another 15. So when you're building a pipeline of good business and you're playing the long game, you're not going to panic. And if I don't know if you just heard Josh Fegan talking about on this morning, Nate, but he was talking about, the power of next.
Yeah.
Next being, great, deal's fallen over. Let's move on. Next, what's next? My best vendor was just listed with someone else. Cool, no problem. What's next?
Right.
And not getting caught up in the drama and the chaos of either the current COVID situation or any single transaction. just having confidence that if you have the right intent, if you build the right set of skills and strategies, and you keep working hard and turning up and giving people good advice, having great conversations that are authentic, being creative in the solutions in this environment, because that's one of the things about this environment. As a business owner or an agent, you will have to be more creative.
Right.
You know, the thing of just doing vanilla deals is probably, you know, not the only way going forward. You're going to have to be more creative, and you know, whether that's how do you bring this property on the market, how do I get this vendor comfortable, how do I get this buyer comfortable, what conditions can I add to the contract, or can I recommend the lawyer adds in that are going to make this deal stick together or come. And Josh was just talking about, you know, drilling into each customer who might have some fear and pessimism, and understand that, having the conversation, say, mate, I can think you've got cold feet. Just talk me through, what are you concerned about? And, you know, would an extra 3-month settlement help there? Would it, making it subject to sale of your own property help? Would a 5% deposit help? You know, what would be some of the things I might be able to do to make you comfortable? And if I can't, you just wait by the sideline, and when you're ready, I'll find you a home.
Just to talk about that, how agents can endure, survive, but not only survive and thrive in this market. Just to summarize those things that you see, John, and you can talk on each. I'll stop and I'll let you talk on it, or go into it a little bit more. One of the things, obviously, here in Christchurch, New Zealand, we can't do anything. So we're full lockdown. So one of the things that I was saying, pay more attention to, we've got trying to watch less news, less social media, trying to stay away from negativity, and work on yourself, on your presentation, on what maybe you meditate, right, to go within and take care of yourself. Read more books. Talk into that a little bit, John. What's
Yeah, it's all the way you position things. Like right now, you can say I'm stuck at home, or you can say I'm blessed to be at home. Once upon a time, in previous generations, there was no internet, probably no Netflix and Apple TV, and no, a lot of things. You've got no home office. You couldn't do what we're doing today.
right?
In a sense, as I said, if this is as bad as it gets, and most of us on this call now, by definition, we've probably got Facebook, you've got Zoom, you've got the internet, you've got the ability to learn, do online courses. I'd be focusing on, if you can't work, what else can you do? Can you look, many people watching this, they've probably got to be quite frank, without sounding rude, they've probably got a 5 out of 10 listing presentation. How do I know? Because most people in the industry have got a 5 out of 10 listing presentation, if you compared it to 10 being world best. Use this time to become an 8, 9 or 10 out of 10 lister.
Right.
If you are able to, legally and ethically, if you're able to touch base with all your clients, which I'm sure you are, just ring people up and just connect and see that they're okay. Yes, meditate. One of our top young guys the other day, Nate, he had his record month. A youngish guy, he's probably early 30s. He just wrote 100,000 for the month. And I rang him up to congratulate him. And I said, you know, what changes have you made? He said, you know, one of the most impactful was 3 months ago. He said, I learned to meditate.
Isn't it interesting?
He said, I saw one of the other young guys in the office did it and how much it helped him. So I rang up the people that he was taught by. He said, I've done it. And he said, it's had a tremendous impact. So exercise, Josh Fegan just said, you know, if you want to get shredded, this is the time. You don't need to go to a gym. You don't even need to go to a park. You can probably do it on your balcony, or you can do it in your lounge room. So rather than fixating on and commiserating over the things you can't do, focus on the things you can do. And once this is over and you're busy as hell, there's going to be things you say, well, I wish I'd have taken the opportunity to reinvent my listing presentation, or to, you know, clean out my garage, or to clean out my desktop at work, you know, whatever it could have been.
Sure. Like you just said, take care of the inside, and the outside takes care of itself, right? Isn't it interesting? The second thing I thought was adjust your budget. As an agent now, because obviously you can't put deals together, adjust your budget. How does that look to you?
Well, look, I think you're right. That I'm a bit of a sort of a minimalist, and I try not to have too many extraneous costs anyway. But I think that right now, we are in a tough situation, and there will be people that take a hit on their income, revenue, income, profit over the next 3 months for sure in this industry. So, what sensibly can you remove, even if it's temporarily? It's not going to damage your ability to bounce back strongly. Now, of course, the thing ideally that you try and keep as much as practicable is your team, because that's the people are your most valuable asset.
Right.
Now, not everyone is going to be able to keep their team, and that's an unfortunate byproduct of these situations. Is some people need to lay some others off. Others will find a way to reduce salaries of all team members. It's happening in sport. It's happening in business. Everyone takes a bit of a haircut, but that keeps the business afloat, which means it keeps everyone employed. This is a game where I think principals and team members have got to be creative. If you're a team member there and you say, "Oh, no one's touching my salary," well, guess what? Maybe you won't have a job.
Right.
Maybe 6 people. There was a friend of mine the other day in this industry. He's got 27 staff, and he went to them. He said, I need to lay off 6 people. He said, I'm devastated, I'm gutted, but I got
We're having a bit of trouble hearing you, John.
agreed as a team on something. We'll get through this, and they'll all have jobs right through it, albeit for the next 3 months at lower salary levels. So creativity, flexibility, adaptiveness are all important.
I've just got told off. I've got to be a little bit quieter than you, John. I'll keep that a little bit quieter. John, you said getting a team to take a little bit of haircut so you can keep the whole team, rather than trying to lay somebody off and just cutting people down, because that'd be hard on that family. Rather than that, you can take a haircut. Everybody goes back like 20%. In fact, my team agreed to do that. Like you said, well, you know what? We're going to take 20% off our salaries, so everybody can stay in the team, and that's a good way to do it. A professional sport team actually did that. They got a reduced salary now, so everybody can stay in the team. Next thing, nurture the existing relationship that you have. Like, it's a great time. We locked down, obviously. It's a great time to pick up the phone and nurture the existing relationships that we have, right?
100%. And again, don't use it as a listing call. You use it as a relationship call to check that they're okay, and to get information. What's happening in your industry? You're in an insurance, Nate. I mean, it's all. Whilst I 100% discourage anyone from watching any media, ideally, Nate, but certainly not the same level as they were before, or perhaps they are now. But it's good to get an understanding what's happening in the insurance industry as it hit you. And some people might say, actually, my industry is on fire. I know Zoom, we're on today, their shares have doubled in the last couple of months because all of a sudden now using Zoom or equivalent. So I'm sure the people that make the masks and the ventilators and the gloves and everything. So I think be genuinely interested in them, their well-being, their family first and foremost, but also what's happening in their sector. If you made a dozen calls or connects a day, maybe more, but at least a dozen of that nature, that's 50 to 100 a week. You're in a pretty good position then to you've built the bridge with people. You might have even picked up some listings, because people say, God, Nate, I'm glad you called me because we got some bad news. We need to sell. So what's the position? Are we able to? How long is this lockdown going to go for? And I don't know if you can do it there, Nate, but certainly a lot of our guys they're just listing virtually. They're doing virtual or digital listing presentations like this. Some of them have said to the vendors, can you take me on a FaceTime tour of your house? So they're walking through the house. Here's the bedrooms, the bathrooms, the view. They then either stay on FaceTime or shift to Zoom. They have a conversation, identify, it's just as though they're in the same house, except they're not. So I would think that certainly once you get the ability to be a little bit more active than it sounds like you guys are, just assume, subject to the protocols being followed, that everything is the same as it was before all this.
Right.
show buyers, you know, we can certainly still show people one-on-one appointments. We can't do open homes, but we can do one-on-one appointments. And we can't do actual auctions, but we're now doing online auctions. So you know, we have the auctioneer in the house. We have with the agent and the vendor, you know, sufficiently social distancing apart. The auctioneer can be seen by the bidders. The bidders are at their home. They're dialing in. They're pre-registered online. And long story short is, you know, last weekend we sold 55% of our auctions through an online platform that we really had never used before, the whole COVID. So it is possible. It is possible to do, if you're creative and you're looking for a solution, it's possible to continue to do business in a very similar fashion to the way you did it before.
That might be our new norm, John. To be honest, working from home, doing virtual things, which is another conversation that we can have. I've also talked about the next thing is like nurturing clients. I was actually talking to a client of ours yesterday. What she's doing, she's making bakings and dropping it off to neighbours' houses. And I just said, Dorothea, tell me if there's anything we can do for you. We can perhaps, when you run out of supplies, we can get some supply for you. So we can both help the community, and making phone calls, like you said. And the last point there is hit the ground running. Like, there's going to be, as you said, people who need to sell, unfortunately, but they need to sell. They need to offload a property because their restaurant is no more operating. It's not operational anymore. So they need money to free up, sell their house. And there'll be buyers out there. Talk on that, if you will, John.
Well, look, I think there's two groups of buyers at the moment that we're seeing. There is most of them who are still happy to proceed, but are expecting a little bit of a discount because things are a bit uncertain. And just to bake that in case things get a bit worse, people are thinking, well, you know, I know it was worth 2 million before, but I reckon I'd be comfortable paying 1.9. Maybe there's a 5% discount factor in. So I think there's that. Then the other one is the opportunistic bargain hunters who are out there and said, well, I know it was worth 2, but I'll give you 1.5. Now, you know, obviously as an agent, you want to deal more so with the first group, which are the people that are genuine buyers, but may expect a little bit of a price correction, as opposed to the bargain hunters. But having said that, you kind of want to have everyone on your speed dial, because there'll be some vendors in a situation they have to sell no matter what at any price. So if you can't find a buyer at a stronger level, you might need to find someone who's cashed up and ready to buy a bargain. So I think, you know, we always, in fact, we say to our buyers, look, if you're looking for a bargain, you need to look elsewhere because we won't get it. And that's how we genuinely feel, and that's the results we get. But there will be some situations someone says, no, I need a sale in the next 72 hours. I've got some stuff happening that I really need to clear quickly. If not, the bank's going to take it over or whatever, which I don't think they will, by the way, but just giving you an example, where you kind of want to be able to pick up the phone and make 10 calls and get the property sold that afternoon. So I think our statistics are telling us about 33% of buyers that were there before COVID are still there. About 66% are either out of the market or they're very nervous and probably would need to be convinced to find a bargain to move. But 33% of the people that were looking before are still prepared to buy. That's our genuine statistic, and we've got that around from a number of different agents in our group. Some of them are doing group emails to their buyers. Some of them are just making phone calls. Others are doing texts. And they're kind of, the highest I've had was 45% and the lowest I've had was 30%. So I'm rounding it down to a conservative 33% of buyers are still wanting to buy. Most buyers that have been through this before realise that things will bounce back. They might even bounce back to a higher level than they were before this. So they therefore see this as a window of opportunity to get into the market when there's less competition, maybe buy a little bit less than I would have had to pay a few months ago, take a nice long-term loan at 2.5% and sell it in 10 years and enjoy it.
Just a couple of questions to wrap this up, John. Me and you have always spoken about, and I've heard you speak about, when the market is good, any agent, you don't need to be any good. You can put a property on the market and have it sold, and have it sold for a reasonable price, even if you told a lie to a vendor, to a potential vendor, or overpriced the property. If the market is going up, the market will catch up catch up eventually, right? And you get the property sold. But when the market is like this, tougher, you find out who, as Warren Buffett said, that you find out when the tide goes out, you find out who has been swimming without trunks on, right? So the people, those who have been order takers, one of the quotes that you use, order takers in a strong market and don't significantly improve the customer's experience, will no longer exist.
Yeah, what's your question? I agree with all that. Is there a question or that's a statement? I agree.
What would you say about that? What would you be?
No, I think you're right. I think you said it beautifully. There's not much more to say. That this is a time where the best agents will build dominant market share for the resurgence.
Mm-hmm.
Next 5 years. Some agents will get out of the industry because they just will. Other agents will go into a cave for the next 3 months and fear and not be proactive and not come up with creative solutions and not work on themselves, and they will struggle thereafter. Other agents will take a proactive, on the front foot, confident approach. They'll work on themselves. The minute they can get in touch with buyers and show properties again, they'll have a diary full of appointments to get through. And they're the ones that are going to go from 12% market share to 30% market share. So I agree that in many ways, this is the best time to be building your market share, much better than when the market's booming, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a personal question. Can I ask you that? John, we've got agents watching this, we've got principals watching this, we've got leaders in the industry, and I've known you for a little while. You are one of the most humblest, one of the guys that's selfless, that's there to help people, and always there to help. Like, you're a personal, you're a dear friend to me now, and a hero of mine.
Thank you.
Talk on that. Like, where did you get that from? Were you born with such a interest in people and helping people? Was it in your DNA?
Okay. Look, thank you very much. That's a very nice description. I appreciate those kind words. I think I've always had a passion for serving people. I don't know where it came from, Nate, but since I got into property management when I was 17, I have loved helping people. I love the reaction I get. I love the feeling I get when someone really gets good service, and when they say to me, God, that you made that so easy, or you got me a great outcome, or whatever it was, or you got me out of a tough spot. So I love the feeling. So in a sense, whilst you say it's selfless, in a sense it's selfish, because I actually do it because I get a great feeling out of it. But I think if you have the right intent, so I love that. The humility bit, look, I find it highly offensive, this industry, when I see people get a modicum of success and they think they're God's gift to the planet and whatever. I mean, the heroes, the nurses, the doctors out there, they're real heroes. They deserve to be put on a pedestal. With great respect to our industry, we don't. We're flogging houses. If we're good at it, fantastic. We're offering great value and service, terrific. Well done, you. But people that go around, and social media, unfortunately, is giving everyone their own TV station. And there are people that are showing off their new car, their jewellery, their holiday, their this, their that. I just find that personally offensive. And I know some people are attracted to it. I mean, there are TV shows about it. There are people that follow those other kind of people. I just find it, it's such a pity in this industry that when people are very good at what, because a lot of those people, by the way, they're very good at what they do. Unfortunately, they have a layer of arrogance.
Right.
And I just think success with humility is so much more pleasurable to experience, to watch, to observe, to be around. So, I know that you've got, you yourself are highly successful. You've got a lot of successful colleagues, and hopefully even a few people on this call have reached a very high level of success. And I just add to it by being humble.
Yeah.
Opposed to detract from it by shouting from, I've seen some stuff recently that really just makes my stomach churn when I think about it. The terminology and the graphics and imagery they put on there about how good they are, and how they're God's gift to the state. And I just think, man, you just don't get it. And by the way, at a practical level, ego does get in the way a lot. If anyone thinks that vendors don't check out your social media before listing with you. And they go on. If anyone thinks a vendor is impressed by the bling that some people display and the level of arrogance, I've got to say, you're deluding yourself. Maybe some people in the industry that are starting out that think, oh, isn't that great? He's done $1 million or whatever. Okay, well, if that's who you're trying to impress and you think that's a good way to impress it, that's up to you. But social media is viewed by everyone, and I actually think things like that out of control ego, they get in the way of future success. So I think it's the only way to go. Let's just hope that everyone on this call, because they're connected to you, everyone on this call probably already adapts that.
Yeah, we got a comment from Graham. She's totally agree with you. To be in for the right reason, the need to help people and not have an ego. One of our favorite books, John, Ego is the Enemy. What an amazing book by Ryan Holiday, right?
Who was going to speak at ARIC next month, but of course ARIC's pushed back, but I'm sure he'll be there next year or whenever we reschedule it. Yeah, look, I think ego is the enemy, and people that come from the right space, karmically, from the heart, helping others without that ego attached, they have much better long-term, sustainable and enjoyable success. The ego people, they need to keep that ego by buying more, bigger boats, cars, holiday this, holiday that, jewelry and so forth. And at some point, it's kind of like, when's enough enough? So
absolutely, you can never have enough of things, because somebody else always got bigger things, bigger house, bigger car than you. So you can never have enough of that. John, I do appreciate you trying. You're an amazing friend. You're a great guy. Thank you very much for your time. We'll catch up with you soon. Yeah.
Hi to all our friends in New Zealand. You guys, as a country and as an industry, have been great friends of ours. Many have come to ARIC, as you know. We get huge contingent every year, Nate. So appreciate being here. It's only a tiny, token to reciprocate what you've done. Keep up the good work. Jacinda, I think, is doing fantastic. People around the globe are talking about the strength of your leadership at the moment. So, bunker down. It will get better. It's going to pass. It's going to be a few more weeks, maybe even a couple of months of somewhat discomfort, but at the end of the day, we'll get to the other side. So I look forward to seeing you soon, even if it's digitally. Hopefully
it'll be like next ARIC will have a lot more people here from New Zealand, because I know ARIC is the best conference I've ever attended, and it's like good people giving back. I've learned so much from ARIC, so it's certainly something everybody should attend. So I appreciate you, John, and people are saying thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.